welcome back to another episode of the Hollywood Makers. I'm your host, Valeria, and I am joined today by actor George Finn, who's here today to talk to us about a new upcoming project. George, if you want to tell our audience a bit about Atlas King.
Sure. My name's George Finn. I play Tommy in Atlas King, and it's Atlas King's a gritty crime thriller, very much in the vein of old action movies. But basically, the storyline is Atlas King used to be a fighter. He got ran out of town by Clay Emerson, played by Cuba Gooding Jr., and Atlas King is Mike Bisping, the former UFC champ.
Yeah.
And basically, he comes back in town 10 years later when my father passes away. And basically, the debt that my dad owed falls onto me. I play Tommy. He's a fighter. And basically, I basically have to fight for Clay Emerson in order to try to get out of this debt. And so he comes back and goes, look, I'll help you out. We can do a job. We can get out of this and get revenge on Clay, who basically pushed our dad into an early grave.
Wow. Yeah, I saw the trailer. It looks super enticing, especially with the fighting and the MMA aspect of that. Did you have to do a lot of training to prepare for the physical aspect?
Yeah. So basically, for 3 to 4 months right before shooting, I had to go from, someone that's like somewhat athletic to being able to look like I know what I'm doing. And the thing is, everyone else in the movie is a professional fighter. I'm the only one that hasn't been in like the UFC or Pride or competed professionally.
Oh my goodness.
And
Yeah.
so I basically had the most amazing stunt team, Josh Maybe, and then Yokohama Mura, who plays Bomber, but basically helped me out. And we went down to Point of Impact. And for 3 months, 5 days a week, twice a day, I'd basically go through like the gamut. I'd go through fight training. I'd go through stunt work, jujitsu, MMA, like different
Oh my
styles, and
goodness.
also the choreography. And basically, we would just drill it, and they were trying to get me as close to fight ready as I could possibly be. And so it was a
Wow.
fun process of like discovering how physical it actually is, where I stand, how I could do it, where I look like I actually know what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely do it. I like looks like it came
Yeah.
together really well.
Thank
Did
you
you
very much.
feel more connected with Tommy than you did maybe some other characters because there was more of a physical sacrifice
I
involved?
think you try to find the similarities with other characters. Whenever you play
Mm-hmm.
someone, you have to find the parts of you that could be that person in order for it to be truthful to yourself as well as an audience. And the thing is, Tommy is he he's basically like this tightly wound, angry person, but he keeps it in. He keeps it in, and the only place he ever gets to let it out is in the ring. And so he's a very physical character. And so getting to go through that fight training and learn all the physicality of it definitely tied me into Tommy in a way where I could really understand him. And I was like, it would be, have no energy. I'd be on the ground. I'd be getting beat up, and I'd just go, okay, like this is exactly what I want. Like I'm happy here. This is the place I need to be. And that discovery kind of really
Exactly.
helped guide the character.
Do you ever feel like it's a bit difficult to kind of stay within yourself while also absorbing so much of another character? How do you find the balance between like being yourself, but also being yourself within this person that you're embodying?
There definitely can be difficulties, but I'd say that because you shoot in such a tight timeline, it's easy to kind of like, ideally you have your other distractions kind of taken care of if possible, if you can. And then basically you get to
Yeah.
focus on this person. It's almost like, you get to live as this character for 3 to 4 weeks while you shoot, or 2 months, however long it might go. And then when you're there, it's you kind of come back to yourself afterwards in a way that's always entertaining. I mean, you come back and part stays with you. Like it never really leaves. You figure out more of yourself in it. So you notice that, like, Tommy may not take shit from people a little more, and you're like, what parts of me might not take shit? Like how would I normally do this before I had played Tommy, and how would I do it now? And it's fun to see those dynamics change.
I love that. Have you taken any aspects of your characters with you into your real life after? Any like personality traits or things that you've learned from characters that you've played?
I think no matter what, it leaves something with you. I think
Hmm.
it's important to find that part. And then sometimes there's stuff where you go like, this won't do anything for me. It doesn't serve me in any way. And you let that go. That's what lets you do that
Absolutely.
stuff. So
All
yeah.
right. Well, I kind of want to switch gears a little bit. So you mentioned you're from Georgia.
Yes.
Did so I did a little research on you. to be
Mhm.
completely honest, and a little of my own lurking. So you have had a long history of working with your brother, and your family has a long-standing history of, working with film, screenwriting, directing. Was that kind of like something you always knew, I'm going to join the family business, or did you ever kind of like stray from that?
Well, if you ask my mom, she always thought I was going to be a rock star, but that was her plan. She's like, because my brother was very. I work with my brother Nika Yeshuli. He's a writer, director, producer. He
Yes.
is the force behind Atlas King. But I've worked with him since I was little. But originally, it was just something I tried for fun. It was kind of like, George, do you want to go to auditions? This is what they are. You can get out of class. You get to go have these fun adventures during school. Because I started when I
Little
was
side
around
quest.
12 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it sounded fun, and I'd go and I'd work on commercials or a couple of things here and there, and it was like an entertaining thing to do. But then when I worked with Nick, that's when I was 16 years old. We did a short, and that's when I realized I was like, this is what acting is. Now I get it, and I get to do this with my brother for the rest of my life. Like there was no other, there was nothing else for me. I do it. So, but yeah, whole family. Like my dad was a writer, screenwriter, director. My grandfather was a famous writer in Georgia. My sister was a writer, and my brother. We grew up in movies. This is the kind of movie we would want to watch. That's what we tried to make.
Yes. Oh, I love that. So it's in your blood. I actually love that you just said that because I feel like a lot of the time nowadays we see projects that are not really appealing to what the audience wants. I feel like we've seen some non-successful films like the Disney live actions coming out or kind of, sequels, unoriginal stories. And I think it's incredibly important that we have, people like you and your brother that are making the stories that you want to make instead of trying to contribute to this like financial mill in the industry. Do you feel like you've had to have a lot of experiences where you didn't really like the work that you were doing, but you just had to further your career in that way?
I've been super lucky that I've really enjoyed all the projects I've been on. And I think it's one of those things where like I love acting, I love the work. And you get to play different characters. You don't always get to choose what characters you'll play, but then when you get
Mm-hmm.
those opportunities, it's so much fun. With this, the thing that was different is kind of we put it together ourselves. My brother and
Mm-hmm.
we produced it alongside our producing partner John Edward Lee and Mike Bisping. We basically put this together, and it was one of those things where we're like, look, let's show what kind of movies we like. Let's do what we would want to do. Let me play a character that I would want to play, and we kind of built this thing in a way to bet on ourselves. And so getting to play a character that I haven't played before, like I haven't been able to play such a physical role or such a,
Mm-hmm.
it was a fun dynamic to get to show. Whereas like other times, you're happy to work and you put your effort in. And I don't think I don't think there's too many characters I've worked on where I've been like, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm usually never in my trailer. I'm sitting on set watching everything. And like, that's where I'd rather be. I'd rather work nonstop than, ever have worries about a character.
Absolutely. So, Atlas King, is this your first time having a bit more of a producer role in a film?
Yeah, it's my first time producing. It was a super interesting take because I mean, you get to be there from creation. Like I always, my brother will write scripts and he'll send them to me and we'll talk about them and we'll, go through things. But then to getting to see everything build up from, meeting with the director of photography, finding out like the locations, meeting with different, all the steps along the way and being involved in it as a producer and not just as an actor really kind of gives you this all encompassing idea of what it is. Cause I mean, you show up to set as an actor, you basically have your work ready and you know what you need to do.
Hmm.
You're the acting department. Like every department has their thing and you're the acting department. So you have to show up and deliver in that way. Here, it was cool to know like exactly what we're working with and knowing what these people are bringing to the table and what I could do even earlier than when I'd show up to set. So I was able to kind of build around all of those things. And it was such a passionate crew of people that were really working hard to put everything together. And it motivated me even more.
Oh, I'm so excited to see it now, knowing like the passion project and all the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into a project like this.
Yeah.
Um, Being a producer, you're wearing multiple hats. Did you feel like you had a preference for, going back to acting, or did producing kind of like bring out a new side in your career?
I would. The thing is, like I said, I love being on set. So it's one of those things
Hmm.
where, like, I'll be on set however I can. I know that acting, like, once that decision was made, it was made for me in the way of like once I figured out it was mine. That was it. So acting is something I'll always do. There's no off button for that. And I'd love to produce alongside that. It'd be great. I have no problems continuing that as well.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
you mentioned your brother also is, the force behind this project, and you guys have worked together a lot throughout your career. What's that like for you? I feel like, we have the people that, work with their parents, work with their kids. Working with your sibling is, I would imagine, a completely different ball game.
Yeah, it's one of the joys of the whole thing for me because we have a really good relationship. We're very close. We grew up in the same household. There's a connection there that you're never going to have with anyone else. There's a second hand. I mean, one, we're Georgian, so we have a secret language that no one will ever speak on set. But as an actor and a director, that relationship, he's able to really be personal with things or talk about things in a way that I understand it in, let's say, like 2 words, as opposed to maybe he has to make points clear, right? So if he ever has to give a
Hmm.
note, he's able to give a note. He knows me so well that he's able to give a note that'll basically steer me into where I need to go without having to try to explain the situation. Or like, he'll throw a movie reference out, and I've seen that movie. We've talked about it. I know exactly what it is. So it's like, it's a very close working relationship. And
Hmm.
the thing is, our entire crew, like, we work a lot with the same people. When they come in, it's a very family driven project usually. I mean, my mom is always coming to set. She's bringing homemade meals, and she's at Crafty handing things out and making sure
That's
like
so
she's like the set
sweet.
mom. And we always put all our friends in, and like everyone's always involved. So it's because you work on a project for, let's say, like, it could be 10 years, it could be 5 years. You see these people all the time, right? Let's say like you're working on something. You want to be able to know that you can work with them, that you can trust them, that they will be there when you need them to. And the thing is, family is already doing that. Luck if you're lucky, you know what I mean? So getting to work with my brother, it's one of the pleasures of this whole thing.
That's fantastic, especially having like your own secret like sibling language no one else
Oh
can
yeah,
really understand. I do the same with my sisters. It's like you references that people outside will not ever get.
yeah.
Um, so talking about, you having people that you trust working in films, I've noticed lately a lot of people have been talking about, maybe people being overcast or being overexposed. For example, the cast of The Odyssey are very high A-list actors that people have
Mhm.
seen in a lot of, frequent films. So what do you think is the difference between someone being overcast and overexposed versus having a consistent group of actors that you always come back to the way Christopher Nolan does?
I mean, I think almost all great directors have that pool of people they want to pull from. Like, I mean, I'm not going to fault them for having Cillian Murphy on speed dial and Michael. You can make that call, and they're all going to come running. And yeah, take your pick of the litter. But
Oh yeah.
I think, I think that the market influences a lot. The movies that come out. I mean, look, I'm in the movies all the time. I see everything. I saw the Odyssey. I saw Spider-Man. And the thing is, like, when you have these great movies that come out, it's important to have actors that are going to lead those projects and that people want to see. And I think that as long as you're doing good work, like I've never complained about seeing too many Gary Oldman movies. I've never complained
Oh
about too many
yeah.
Denzel movies. I don't think that when you see these actors that are out there doing great work, I think you can't get enough of them. So I think
Hmm.
overexposed is only if, like, if you're tired of seeing the same person in the same role, that makes sense. But if they're playing different characters each time and it's interesting, I don't think that's ever an issue.
Yeah, there's a very big difference, I would say, between like Liam Neeson playing like an action hero versus,
Yeah.
Zendaya being like, they say that she's overexposed right now, but she's playing a very large range of characters.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of to switch gears a little bit, including talking about characters, learning your character, you also have a lot of experience in TV aside from just, your filmography. Is there a big difference between committing to a, shorter lived character on a TV show versus a movie character that you commit more of your time to?
Sure. I mean, the thing is, it's almost like when you get to work on a TV show, you see the same people for, let's say,
Hmm.
a long period of time, and then it's basically like working like a job where you have the same family building every year. Like, I mean, if you do something like The Office, I'm sure you're basically going through years after years after years of the same people. You
Yeah.
see they all have kids, everyone. Whereas like a movie, you come in, you have this tight knit family, but it's only like 3 months of filming at most usually,
Hmm.
and then you don't. you don't run into those people again unless you're lucky and like you stay in touch and you make those bonds. So I think that alone already adds something to it where you see that when you come in and you work. But then you also get to in TV you get to explore characters a lot more. You get to take
Mm-hmm.
their art much further than they ever would. And ideally they don't sometimes they run out, like you notice sometimes on a TV show when it goes on too long that like maybe this character's arc is already finished and they don't know where to take it. And now they got to do other
Mm-hmm.
things with it. That's the only part that I'd say like, that's when things get iffy. But other than that, you get to explore more. Whereas like in a movie, you have to be very specific and show that side and kind of make sure you get it there and go. Whereas like in a TV show, I think you really get to show the whole character, which, there's
Yeah.
benefits to both.
Do you ever feel like you have more creative freedom with a character doing TV just because you're there developing your character longer? Do you feel like you have more of the freedom to kind of change their arc in a way?
I think you would at a point. I mean, the thing is, if you really get a character you get to play for a while, I'm sure the ownership of it becomes yours in a way. I'm sure old
Mm-hmm.
writers, most writers I know hate having to hear the like, my character would do that, or that's you gotta. I think it's at the end of the day, it's always a writer's medium. I think you have to serve the script and the story that's there and the character that's
Mm-hmm.
there. You can add things to it, but then I don't think you can come in and really take over too much. But you definitely get a little bit more say in what you think. I think they'll listen to you a little more. Where in a movie, it's kind of like this person sat there for 10 years with this script. They've thought of this character. They wrote this dialogue, and like you can add to it, but it's here for a
Mm-hmm.
reason. That has to be conveyed before you can get across to maybe let me try this other thing. Unless it's an idea that
Yeah.
broadens things, you can't usually add much.
So would you say other than, the director, the writer would kind of be the foundation of a piece of work?
For me, yeah, I think it all comes from the script and the words. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's fun. You watch these interviews and it'll be someone talking with Michael Mann or Christopher Nolan or someone, and they'll ask them this question about like what they thought about the themes of what this is. And like sometimes you'll get an answer from the director where they're like, sure, it's for you to decide or it's what you want, right? Whereas like I feel like
Yeah.
the writer usually is writing with those ideas in mind. And then like when you get to work with the writer director, like my brother does both, they have an understanding of the script and the story in a way that's so commanding that it's basically like a freight train. They're leading it, and then you're basically hopping in the car to, you'll have your own department on the train, you'll have your own compartment, but you're there
Yeah.
driving it, and you have to serve that, and everyone drives it home together.
Wow. So that is like a very different kind of way of working. I feel like when you look at like, a lot of jobs, a lot of it of the time is like my own personal growth. And I think, for actors, a lot of it is, you are working towards your personal growth. But a lot of the time too, you're working towards building this like communal thing. It's, not just even like a small group of people. We have, thousands of people that can go into making just one single movie. So what do you have to say to people that kind of don't really appreciate or understand the importance of people that do lighting, catering, tech work, set building, everything that goes into that? That's, rather not just the creative aspect, but also the technical, physical aspect.
I think that, I mean, one thing as getting to be a producer on this is you really do appreciate, I mean, how much work they put in
Hmm.
on all those departments. And the thing is, like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when you see a movie, you're watching, the final edit, and it's already been through post production. It's been through
Hmm.
all the shooting, the script, like all these things that go behind it, all the things that are propping it up, that are just out of frame. You don't see the 15 people that are like, working hard and like maybe pushing themselves to try to get that last shot. So
Yeah.
the thing is, I think to be unappreciative of it is you're not you just don't understand what it is, right? Like
Yeah.
then you're seeing it as a different thing because sure you can come in and your personal growth always, you can have personal growth, you can focus on that, but the key thing you're doing here is you're collaborating. It is a troop of people trying to tell a story
Hmm.
together, and the thing is no one person is above anyone else in that. Everyone's in it together. I mean, Tom Cruise has like a couple interviews, I think, where he talks about it and about what actors should know, how they should know the camera, they should know the lighting. Like my thing is, I don't like to sit in the trailer. I like to be on set, I'm in people's way, I try not to be, but sometimes. But I'll sit there and I'll basically try to get as much out of it as I can. I'll watch people do things. I'll ask them questions. And the thing is, like, what people love to do is tell you what they do. Like, you go to the sound guy, you ask them questions, they'll show you everything. Go to you ask the key grips what they're setting up. I mean, any of the things you do, they're going to tell you the whole thing. And so it really informs everything because you get to understand. You're like, okay, it's
Yeah.
this kind of camera. This is what it's going to do. That light actually is going to give me more of a sinister look on this vibe. Like, it's different things that set it up. And so that collaborative process is important to appreciate. And if you don't, you're missing the forest for the trees.
Oh, yeah. Are there any specific technical roles that you learned more about that were more difficult than you anticipated it would be?
I couldn't weigh the difficulty of each because I've seen it all. And the thing is, the makeup department that's sitting there doing special effects and squibs and blood, making sure that they have to do their thing. And then you have wardrobe who has to use those same clothes and try to have like different takes and make sure that like, oh, it's one of those fun things where like when you watch a movie, if you have friends in the industry and they're in different fields, everyone will watch the same movie, but the first time, if they really don't get entranced in the story, you'll ask them how it was, and they'll usually comment on their department. So like when you watch, they'll be like, oh, like everybody was dressed so stylish, or like, oh wow, like she looked amazing, like based on what it is. The camera guy will be like, oh, the shots were great, or like the lighting was off. So everybody, they're so focused on this. And it's one of those things where as an actor, you sometimes like, you want to know how to go. Like I'll ask my brother, I'm like, yo, are we good? Should we move on? What was that? And so the answer I get from my brother is going to be different from what I get from the cinematographer. If you like when he asks them, like, how was it? They go, "Oh, it's good," but they're only talking about the
Absolutely.
lens and what they saw. They're not
Yeah.
commenting on the acting. They're not commenting on this. So there's no one that outweighs more. I mean, what the director does and what my brother does, like I think that is it's Fellini's 8.5. You're the person that's basically leading this whole thing, and so to keep everyone together, to push and do all of that from the very beginning all the way to the end, I think that's the hardest part for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Do you find yourself when you're watching these movies, thinking more about the acting side of it? Or now that you're a producer, do you find yourself kind of picking up on the small production aspects of a film?
So the first time I see a movie, I try to like I'm on my main thing that I care about most is story. And so
Yeah.
I try to really just not watch any like forget anything, right? Like just don't it's a long single take camera shot. I don't want to be able to notice that, right? I
Uh-huh.
want it to affect me and then be able to go like, oh, okay, and then you go back and watch it. The second time, then I might go through and see more technical aspects and go like, well, how did they shoot this? What was the creativity behind getting this shot? Or like, how did they set this up or get this group of people together? That usually comes on like second, third viewings. But the first time I try to stay like as in the movie as possible. And then acting wise, I think when you see great acting, you don't notice it because I don't think you're feeling the emotions, you're feeling the character, and you see it, and that affects you, and that's how you know it's great acting. If you see someone and you know they're acting, it's never going to be good acting. Like if you can
I
identify like
completely
this
agree.
person's acting right now, then you're never in a place of like it feels fake to you. That's the only reason you're identifying it. If it feels real, it's great acting.
I completely agree. Do you find that, like, when you're looking at these, like, production things, do you find that you're more impressed maybe with lower budget films that have to do more practical effects rather than higher budgets that have, an unlimited CGI budget versus something that just has to use primarily practical effects? Do you think that there's, like, a
I mean,
difference in maybe preference?
so the thing is, I love creativity. So if you're
Mhm.
creative on a low budget film and you're able to pull something off, like Obsession didn't have that budget, but they were able to just tell a great story, keep you in
Mhm.
it the whole time, shock you, scare you, make you laugh, do all those things, and they didn't. They did what they could. And then you also have the Odyssey, where we had a couple people that worked on the Odyssey that were telling us about like we're building a Cyclops right now in a cave in Greece, and they're like we have
Insane.
the puppet
Yes.
basically built, and like I worked on that, and it was amazing to hear about. And so that amazes you because the idea of it's surreal. But then I'm a big Marvel fan. I love all of it. So when they're filming on green screens and they do all these things, and then afterwards you get to have those Avengers Assemble moments that like you feel in the cinema. I mean, it's all impressive to me. There's not one that overrules the other. It's just I love creativity, and so the more creativity I can see is interesting.
I love that answer. I feel like, yes, I was thinking obsession as well when I was thinking low budget and practical effects, especially like smaller things. Like even, when Indy Navarrette's character is in the dark and you kind of just like see her eyes and you know that they painted over her eyelids. Small things like that that just like make the movie so much more eerie and enticing in that way. Do you feel like you're still learning from when you watch movies? Do you feel like that's so cool? I should incorporate that into my next project, or like that's a very creative way of doing that. Do you ever feel like you're still, picking up on ideas?
100%. It's one of the
Hmm.
things that, like, I mean, you have to be constantly inspired in this work. I think that if you're already set and you're like nothing's moving you, then you're not going to do good work in whatever field you're in. But I think you're constantly
Absolutely.
watching people. I mean, as an actor, you're trying to steal. You're going like, you watch great action. Oh, that's really good. I might try to use that somehow, and it'll be different when you do it, right? Unless you're really copying. But yeah, you get inspired. I mean, you watch Obsession or you watch these. I mean, I just watch Spider-Man. You watch these movies and go like, fuck, like I want to do something like that, or oh, that what they did there was so creative. Let me do my version of that, or let me take that
Yeah.
and adapt it, and like we move forward, right? We're at the end of the day, we're still telling stories. We're still trying to you know, give you inspiration through these acts that people go through, right? Like heroes, villains, all these things. And so it automatically is an inspirational medium because it's teaching you, lessons and adventures and lives you get to live. So I think getting to, you know, I think you always have to steal and be inspired by it.
Absolutely. And then on top of us talking about, CGI practical effects, it is 2026 and a big topic of contention right now, of course, is AI and how AI is entering the film sphere and how, people are using it. Do you have any opinions on the extent to which AI should be used in film? Do you think we should be using it at all?
I think that I mean, so I think, is something that's going to be a tool. I do think that it's here. I don't think you can put it back into the bottle. I think now that it's out, I think people are going to be using it. I think it's going to move forward. I don't see it as I don't know, something that's going to take over and completely, like, I don't think it's going to replace the entire industry, but I do think it's going to be a tool that's going to help people in ways and also hurt people in others, right? Like there's always overuse of it and what people are going to try to cut out. Like, let's not have a sound department and let's now use AI to try to do it. And, you know, they won't be able to do what a sound department would do, but maybe they can get
Yeah.
that project made. So there's aspects to it of like, are you able to now go make something that you weren't able to make? Is it interesting? Is it creative? Does it move you? Does it have a soul? Then if you can use AI to do those kind of things, then I'm okay with it. But it's, as long
Hmm.
as it's not like, I think we're in a time where it's hard to not copyright and steal. So I think like AI right now is just an amalgamation of like the knowledge we have. And I think it is currently copyright. If you can get it past
Exactly.
that,
Yeah.
because I don't think it's going to generate its own creativity. I think you always need people piloting it and standing there saying like, give me this, create this. So I'm not against AI. I think I try to see it for what it is, and I think it can be
Hmm.
a useful tool. In movies, I know people have different opinions, and especially there's a big pushback. But I think it's important to have that pushback because it means the stuff that comes out will be filtered through the right lenses.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think as well, for the sake of innovation, AI can be extremely important and it can be very useful as a tool. However, I do think that we still have so much innovation left in us. I look at the example of just how Christopher Nolan was able to completely change what IMAX cameras were able to do specifically for this movie. The, giant cameras and the sound box and everything that they built because Christopher Nolan is notoriously known for, not wanting to use CGI or effects in that way.
Yeah.
So, do you think that there is still a sense of innovation that we should be focusing on, like human first, or is AI going to be a supplementary tool that can help us get to those, further inventions?
I think it will be a supplementary tool, but I think at the heart, what you're saying, and it's a good point. I mean, that's the heart of it. Is it has to be a human story. It has to be something that moves you. I mean, I'm a big anime fan, right? Like
Hmm.
I grew up on it as a kid. It's one of those things of like when someone draws something, right, and you see the art and the love that's put into it before they, even though they don't have, I mean, when you watch an anime show or anything like any Miyazaki movie, right? There's so much soul and heart in it. Even though it's not real people,
Exactly.
you still feel that, right? So I think that's the key aspect that you have to keep is the soul and the heart of it. And as long as you're able to do that, then it counts. Because I mean, there's plenty of AI slop, and it's you see it. No one's sitting there like no one's ever going, oh wow, this you're like, oh, it's fun, it's cool, it's its own thing. But I don't think it's replacing that human aspect. I think that's the
Yeah.
key to all storytelling.
I'm really glad you brought up Miyazaki too, because I know that he himself is very much, passionate about, the humanity in his work and the hand drawing of his work. And, Studio Ghibli movies are some of the most beautiful, in my personal opinion. I think artistically, musically, story wise, there's so much substance to that. And it is concerning that potentially, animation could become automated, not hand drawn, and kind of maybe, I guess, lose a sense of touch. Do you feel like because you're so immersed in the industry and you see so much content, are you able to kind of tell when something is AI or not? Or do you kind of have that eye for it?
I think I'm definitely the friend in the friend group that's basically going, yeah, guys, this is AI. Like, like someone sends you a
Yeah, I'm
meme
the same.
and you're like, this person isn't real. That didn't happen. And so I feel like you do have to develop a little bit of a skill to detect it. But when it comes to storytelling, I think you'll always know if there's a
Hmm.
soul to it. I think that you can get close to. I
Yeah.
mean, this is, I've also seen some AI like I've seen some videos that people do, and it's crazy. I mean, you can still see that it's AI, but like they almost are telling a story with it, right? So it'll be its own form. But yeah, I think you can always tell.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. I'm like, yeah, the video of the family of rabbits jumping on the trampoline, like that's not real. You
Yeah,
guys, like we have to get it together. But especially like, on top of AI and everything else, being in 2026, it is also known that audiences now are way different than audiences were 10, 20, 50 years ago. Shorter attention spans, there's
Mhm.
certain media that is pushed out more than others. Like, it's just marketing has become the foundation of film rather than creativity in the modern day. So does you feel like you've had to change your your career in that way, like change your acting style or change the way you produce film in order to accommodate to a new audience?
100%. I think that, I mean, you're completely right. It has become the cornerstone of, I mean, everything at this point is, how they're going to market it, how they're pushing it out. It's a big thing. One of the things
Yeah.
we did with this is, I mean, I don't think you can just be an actor anymore. I think I mean, maybe you can get very lucky where like you can only be an actor, you come into it and then you book work and then you just launch, right? Like that can always happen.
Mhm.
That's not impossible. But I think a regular actor, I think you can't sit around and wait. I think you can't wait for auditions to come and just say this is all I'm going to do. I think now the way the world works and with social media, you are
Yeah.
now able to create your brand. You are now able to represent yourself and show who you are. So that way you have to make yourself into these characters and be marketable in that way, right? Like people need to know what they're getting with you. And I think I remember when I used to go into in-person auditions years ago when they still had them, and I remember seeing a printout and this was like the early days of Instagram and Twitter. And basically, it was like a printout of names of all the people that were auditioning, and to the side, it was like their follower count in parentheses. And I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, this is game. This is a different game. Like I need to stay on top of this. This is how this is going to work. And
Yeah.
it definitely has that now. And one of the things is that's also why like Nick and I made this film is we basically said like we have to create this ourselves because you can't wait for other people to figure it out. And then also let's show the people what kind of movies we want to make because we want to do more of these. We like crime films. We like action films. We like stories about men and loyalty and what you do, revenge, courage, all these themes that we have through this. It was one of those projects where we get to really show what we're capable of and who we are,
Yeah.
right? And I think in a world where you're not broadcasting and telling you have to be your own champion and like cheerleader, you're like champion yourself basically and push yourself. And I think with social media, you have to, and it's completely different from what it was. Whereas like back in the day, it was probably, you go to an audition, maybe you book it, you come back, and you didn't have to worry about the marketing until you were actually getting a project.
Yeah. It's so incredibly difficult. I can't even imagine, nowadays a lot of the time I think I heard a producer say recently that, we're not really looking for actors anymore, but we're looking for people that have a big following, people that their names will be recognized, their faces will be recognized. Do you feel like that kind of dilutes the story or dilutes, the stories that are trying to be told?
if I mean you could, yeah, because I mean when you see someone, if someone's ever in a project and you don't feel like they should be in that project because they're not doing the work, whether it's because they were, a brand that was put there or because they're just not up to it, it's always going to lack from the story, right? Like you're always going to be taken out. You'll always go like, oh, like this person is rude, and it happens. You get like this person's not pushing a project into something cool,
Yeah.
but uh yeah, I think it's important that the way even marketing, the way it works now, it's been broken down to like people become brands. Like you even have like, little coffee shops now have their own brand on
Yeah.
Instagram advertise. And it's more of like the celebrity has been broken down into, instead of like this group of people, it's now been broken down into this, like, content creators and the standard people you see on Instagram. And I think that ends up being a little bit more, as those times change, the work reflects that. But I mean, as long as someone's putting the work in, I think I'm here to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's become like super widely accessible now that, celebrity used to be like this super high up thing that no one could access. And nowadays it's very much like you just go on Instagram and you're like having a super easy access to all these people. It's a hard industry, but I do want to wrap things up with you. I don't want to take too much of your time. I just
Really
have two
fun.
final questions for you. Number one, what has been your favorite thing you've seen this year? I would like to know anything recently that has blowed you away.
So I'll give you my favorite thing I've seen and then the one I'm looking forward to most. So I saw basically like a few years ago, I was hanging with my brother and he put on this movie and it was called The Long Day's Journey into Night. It's a Chinese film. And it was one of those things where like I didn't want to watch a movie at the time. I was on my phone and we were talking about something and he was just like, I'm gonna watch this movie on the Criterion channel. He puts it on. And so I remember I looked up once from my phone at the start of the movie and then I just sat there in that same position enthralled the entire time. It was called A Long Day's Journey into
Wow.
Night. And it was this amazing like Chinese film. The last 40 minutes of it are this single one take shot. And so it had a huge effect on me. And I remember it was like it's when people would ask me what my favorite movie was for like those 2 years, it was that. And then he just put out a new movie it was basically like an ode to film, like his love of film. And it's broken up into 5 parts. And it was, this director, Bygone or Begone.
I'm gonna write these down. Like I always want no new
Long
recommendations.
Day's Journey into Night is 100% something you should see. And then I
For
think
sure.
Resurrection. That's what it is. I think it was called Resurrection. Yeah.
Got it. Long Day Journey into Night Resurrection.
And then
I'll write that
Resurrection is what I
down.
saw this year that I loved. And the one I'm looking forward to most is this Korean director's movie, Hope. And it's going to have Michael Fassbender and Alicia Vikander in it. It's also going to have a lot of these
Ooh.
famous Korean actors. And it is one of my favorite working directors. And so it's his movie that he did like The Wailing, he did The Chaser, The Yellow Sea. And then this is the movie he's doing like after 10 years. So I'm dying to see that. And I think it comes out in September.
Wonderful. All right. Well, my final question for you today is like, you have any words of advice for our audience, people coming into the industry, going into film school, becoming actors, words of advice just about this career?
I think that uh, advice is I think you have to be in for the whole thing. I think you have to know that it's an exciting, adventurous industry, and there's stories to tell, and there's room for everyone to come in and tell those stories. But at the same time, I think you have to know that as exciting and as adventurous as it is, there's going to be times where it's not, and you have to be okay with that too. And so just be ready to go in knowing that enjoy all of it. Like enjoy the time where maybe you're not getting calls for auditions, maybe it's slow, but enjoy that time. Go see things that inspire you. Stay looking for good work because it's there no matter what. You can go watch old films, you can see what comes out. Like stay in it and it will inspire you to want to keep going no matter what. But the thing is it's the best industry in the world. It's storytelling and I don't know, that's my favorite form of it. I think that if you're going to come into it, just know it's the adventure of a lifetime.
Oh, well, that's so great to hear. Well, thank you so much once again, George. This has been an absolute pleasure. For
Thank
our
you.
audience, please watch Atlas King coming out August 21st. So exciting, starring George Finn, Michael Bisping, Cuba Gooding Jr., Sarah Wayne Callies, super amazing cast. So everyone, please go check it out. And thank you so much, George.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.